All right, so let's do this. I'm going to, we've got this bass sound here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's change this up. And we're going to put in like a basic bass sound here. And I've got 8 bars to mess with here, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit record and record a few things. Okay, so we got that there, and I just realized, that's fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I got this recorded in, and we're going to quantize it. The shortcut key for getting to quantize is Option 0. Option 0. There you go, like that. And in here, I've got my quantized grid. I'm going to set that to 16th notes because this is a 16th note that I'm playing. And I hit apply, and now let's listen. Cool, and I think this one sounded pretty good, so I'm just going to cut that one out. I'm going to get rid of all the others, and I'm just going to drag this over, and I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate that a few times. Cool. Let's put that filter down a little bit. Okay. So now I've got that. Let's say that, for example, I want to have some kind of synth line that goes. Hold on. Let's get a different sound here. Not a pad sound. Let's get a lead sound. And let's turn off. Let's mute the vintage filter. I hold down Command. I click it, and in here. Yeah, there we go. There's that. Turn off the glide. Turn off legato. Awesome. So we got that there. And I'm going to let's put it. So if I want to play something like that. Like that, you can hear it's a little bit hard for me to play. I can do it if I want to record that in. You know, I can kind of do it, but it's not great, and it's certainly not really good enough to make it sound good. I'd have to practice it a while. So what I can do is this, and this is the next thing we're talking about in the notes here. Is this slow MIDI recording technique. And this is something that I really urge you to not forget because it's a really cool way to be able to play lines in that you're not technically good enough to play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up my transport window. And in here, I'm going to turn my tempo down. Let's turn it down to like really slow. And now I can go in here and I can play in this part that I might not be able to play otherwise. 2, 3. Awesome. And you can hear that for the most part, it sounds okay. Starting out doing a 4/4 count instead of a 3/4 count. I don't understand what you mean, AJ. I don't doubt yourself. Ha! Thanks, Nico. I don't understand what you mean, AJ. I am doing a 4/4 count. I'm not doing a 3/4 count. So yeah, because it would totally change your. I'm not doing anything in 3/4 right now. Everything is in 4/4. All right. So let me just keep going here while because I know that there's like a crazy lag in the world of Twitch. So in here, all the stuff I just recorded, 3 beats per measure. No, I know what 3/4 is, but I'm not doing anything in 3/4. Everything's in 4/4 right now. Let's maybe talk about that in Zoom, because there's just too much of a lag in Twitch to really have a conversation about that, because I'm not sure what you mean. But regardless of 3/4, 4/4, regardless of that, if I have this line that I just did, so first of all, I've got this. These are all 16th notes, so I'm going to quantize them. Option 0, quantize them to the 16th notes. Here, I'm going to hit apply. And now I can go through and I can delete any of these that look wrong. You can see some of these notes just look wrong, and the reason why they look wrong is because they're like literally right next to each other. See, that's kind of right next to each other. And yeah, I do want to talk about what you're talking about there, AJ. But he's working. I'm working in 4/4 totally. 100%. It's 100% in 4/4. Nothing is in 3/4. And yeah, because remember, the tempo doesn't have anything to do with our time signature. So if we listen to it slowly, here, let's listen to this slow. Okay, so there's that. Now let's speed this up to 120 again. And you can hear how, right, it sounds amazing because we just sped it up. And so if you remember, when you slow it down, it's just slowing it down. You're just playing it slowly, like you would practice a keyboard line or a guitar line or something like that. Like Nico, I know you play guitar, and I'm sure you've had some, you know, guitar parts that were like super hard, and you slow it down and you play it do 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 whatever, you play it over and over again, and you speed it up and you speed it up and you speed it up, and then you can fly with it. Well, maybe you're not as good of a keyboard player as you are a guitar player, and you need to get something, you want to get it now. You don't have time to practice it, but there's no need to practice it. You can play it slow into Pro Tools and then speed it up. All right, so there you go. Don't always spend years of my life playing scale slowly. Yup, me too. Playing all sorts of stuff slowly. And when I started working with MIDI, and this is like, I mean, man, I mean, I started doing this kind of stuff with my friends back in 1990, you know, what, 93, 94, and it was just like, oh yeah, different time signatures. The question would be, as we were learning to do this, would it be best to stick to a 4/4? No. Oh, I see what you're saying, AJ. No, you do not have to stick to a 4/4 count. I understand now. You could, whatever, it doesn't matter. The time signature literally doesn't matter about this stuff. You could totally change it to, I like to use 6/8 quite a bit. I like to use different time signatures. You can use all these different time signatures. So yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the time signature. If you want to do stuff in 6/8 or 4/4 or 3/4 or 5/4 or 7/4, you can absolutely do that. Really, it's just about this. What I'm talking about today is really just about the speed of things, and it applies to any time signature. But I don't think for learning stuff, I don't think you necessarily need to do this. Really, what you want to do is you want to do something where you're comfortable and you want to be happy with what you're making and you want to be having fun. So if that means doing stuff in non non-common time, then do it. Cool. All right. So that's that. That's this right here, the slow recording technique. It's just a technique for recording quick MIDI passages that are too fast to play in real time. Set the tempo for half the actual tempo, record the MIDI line, set the BPM back to the original tempo. It's super easy. It's just one of those things that's like, oh my gosh, that's so easy. It is, but until you maybe thought about it or seen it, it's like something that's not super obvious. All right, what I'm going to do now is we are going to go ahead and the same thing, but I'm going to show you a slightly different way. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and Option Shift 3. So I've got my MIDI track in here, and we're going to use this thing. It's the next part in our thing here. It's called Step Input. What this allows you to do is it allows you to input notes one at a time with the keyboard according to a timing grid. This is also really cool for if I want to do some line like I just did, and I'm not a good keyboard player, but I want to do something kind of steady, or if I want to, if I know what I want to do. Check this out. It's really cool actually. And also keep in mind all the DAWs have the ability to do this, but the way they do them is all very different. So Event Edit, you go to your event menu, go to Event Operations, and we're going to go to Step Input here. And we click on this, and it pulls up this menu here. And the Step Input, we enable it, which it'll be enabled once you pull this up. What's our destination is our lead. And now we can tell it, what do we want our step increment to be? What notes do we want to input? And then you can go to the next step, undo the step, you can tell it what velocities, all this stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this up a little bit. And there are shortcuts for this, and if you like using this input method, I highly recommend you learn how to use the shortcuts because they do change everything. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and put this in, and we start at the beginning, and I can just go ahead and put in my notes. If I play a note on my keyboard, it puts the note in to my my MIDI kit thing here. And you can see, your delay is like really long. We can talk about this in Zoom more, but we're going to talk about all that stuff: event operations, step input, enable, note, increments, velocities. Yep. And again, I'm recording all this stuff too, so you can go back and check it out. But it basically just, for me, it just showed up and it was just turned on. So you might not have to do anything. Just set your step increment. And if we listen to this, check this out. All the stuff I just input into there is right there. I'm going to double click. I'm going to delete all this, and let's do it again from the beginning. And so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go, and I'm just going to plug some stuff in. Oops, I kind of messed up. And then we can go in here. We can even program in faster, so let's listen to that real quick. Let me get rid of these bad notes in here. Actually, those, because I kind of messed things up a little bit. I'm just going to move these over and see if it works. Yeah, that's all right. I'm going to go over here to this one. And we're going to keep going, and I'm going to go to whoops. And then put some really fast ones in. Undo that one. see what that sounds like. Let me go ahead and delete all these. Let's just listen to this. Let's go back to this one here and I'll put some more, you know. Wait. Change this. And like I said, you can, you know, if you know how to do this, there's like shortcuts you can do with this stuff, which makes it a lot easier. Yeah, let's listen to this. So there you go. Yeah, Nico, I completely agree. Step input is a lot less musical, but you can do some really cool stuff with it that you probably couldn't even do with just slowing it down. And it really just depends on how you want to put stuff in. I mean, remember, a lot of this, what I want y'all to keep in mind is that you could put these things in note by note, one at a time, and still make music. If you keep it in your head, like how did people like Mozart make music? How did people like, Beethoven, Shostakovich, Brahms, any of these people from the 1800s, Bach, how did they make music? How are people still making music today? Some people are playing stuff in, some people are putting in note by note, some people are using pencils still and writing it on paper. So it's really about you getting comfortable with some way to do it and then doing that. Yeah, really slowly. But if you're persistent and you keep doing it, it gets done. So yeah, the step input mathematics, yeah, absolutely. It's a bunch of math, and you can do some cool stuff with it. So I'm not trying to say one way is better than the other here. Really, all I'm trying to do is just show y'all different options for stuff. To each their own, absolutely. Yep. So that's step input. So a couple things in the notes here with step input. It allows you to input the notes one at a time. Open the step input, menu, event operations, step input, set the destination track, set the step increment, which sets the start point of the notes, set the length, which changes the length of the notes but doesn't affect their timing, velocity. You've got input velocity, goes by how hard you play. You can also set the velocity level 2 to a specific level, and then next step inputs a rest or a break. So that's a pretty cool, it's a pretty cool little thing there. All right, and then the edit window, which we kind of talked about the edit window. I just want to get into some more details about the edit window here. I'm going to go back over to, let's do this with our drums. Let's go in here, our MIDI lead. Let's see, is this one, was this the one I played before? Yeah, so many options, right? Yeah, I agree, the options are good. Okay, so we're just gonna keep that one for now, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute that, and let's go back and mess around with this, what am I doing? I know what I'm doing. There we go, okay. Yeah, let's go back and just mess with this first clip here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into this first clip, the drums here. I'm gonna delete all my drums out so we can just see how to program this stuff in. Because I wanna show you a couple things about what's going on in here, and just to make it really clear what I'm doing here. So first of all, this window looks very similar to our edit window over here. It's it's similar-ish. It's not exactly the same, but I can zoom in, and I've got over here, I've got my speaker, I've got some different things up here, I've got my tools and stuff like that. And we can see that I've got my tools up here in the upper left-hand corner. There's my tools. I've got these little window here. I've got some things I can click on here, my MIDI note, duration, all this stuff. I've got this one here, this number. I've got my speaker on and off. Remember we talked about that. And I've got my grid modes here, which is the same shortcuts, F1, 2, 3, and 4. And I've got my grid here, and I've got my right here, which is it's our grid duration here. Yep, cool. All right, so, and then right here, one last thing that I just want to bring your attention to is this part right here. this number here shows you where you are, and this here shows you what note you're on. So that's what all this stuff is we're looking at here. Over here on the left-hand side, this shows you all my different tracks that I have in my song so far. So for example, let's say I've got a drum kit and I want to make a new instrument track. Let's call this one percussion, MIDI percussion. And in here, I'm going to grab a, oh, I just realized I probably don't have a lot of, well, here, we'll call this one, not percussion, we'll call this one MIDI kit 2. And I'm going to put some more drums in here because I want to show you how the different tracks work together. So I'm going to drag my contact down here. I hold down Option, I drag contact in, and in here, my contact factory, wait, no, let's call it drums. What is it called? I don't remember what it's called. Drum selection, that's right, okay. So in here we'll go into our urban kits, maybe production kit. Let's go into production kit, yeah. And we'll go to the Dominic Elberg kit. I don't know what this is. Get rid of this one, change the channel here. Boop, there we go, cool. All right, so on this track, yeah, okay. Okay, cool, we had some percussion stuff. All right, so I'm gonna make a MIDI clip there, Option Shift 3. And now I can double click in either one of my options because what I want to do is I want to program both of my drum kits together. And we can look up here in the upper left hand corner and we can see if I turn this one on here, I'm going to be able to see both of my kits at the same time and I can edit them based on wherever this pencil is. So for example, if I clicked on this one here, so there's my kick drum, and there's my other kick drum. So I'm going to double click on here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise up my velocity. I want my kick drum to have a really loud kick and the high velocity. Now, velocity does not always equal loudness, but for drums it usually equals loudness. For other synthesizers and other instruments, it's not always loudness. But for acoustic instruments and drum kits, velocity usually means louder. A higher velocity usually means louder. So that's what I'm doing up here with all these numbers and stuff. So up here, see this number says 80? If I change that to 127, every time I double click in here, it's going to put the velocity in as 127. And we can see down at the bottom of my screen, here's my velocity. So if I, here, let's move this over and I'm going to just option drag this over like this. Let's hit play. I'm going to go ahead and mute that bass so we don't hear the bass. Okay. So I had this in here. Now, if I wanted to put in a kick that's not quite as loud as this, I can go ahead and change this. I'm going to double click up top. I'm going to double click on this, or I think maybe you can even just single click it. Yeah, you can just single click it. And I'm going to hit 60. There we go. Now, whenever I put a kick drum in, it's at 60. So. And now we get a little bouncy bass part. And I can go over here, I'm going to put a hi-hat in. 127 is max velocity for everything, not just Pro Tools, it's max velocity for MIDI. Moises, to answer your question. Okay, so we'll go down here. Yeah, so we'll go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and double click in here. Now, if I put a note in, if I hold down Command, see how it turns into a little, my little up and down staple thing? It's like a trim, up and down trim tool. Well, that means that I'm actually controlling my velocity. See this? My velocity is down here on the bottom, and if I click and drag, I can see the number right there on the left-hand side. Over here, you'll see a number. If I click and drag it up, there's a number here. Well, what that number is, it's my velocity. If I mouse up here, I can also drag that up and down, and I'm going to see a number in the upper, way up here in the top of my window, up here, up in the upper left-hand corner. If you look up there when I'm holding down Command and dragging, you're going to see a number of your own DAW where the velocity will be 120. It's better. You know, this amp goes to 11. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to drag this over, and I'm going to hold down Command and click and drag it down. So we're going to get this interesting little hi-hat line here. My DAW goes to 128. Well, couldn't you just make 127 louder? Yeah, but it goes to 128. All right, so we have this in here. Now let's go ahead and check out our second kit here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this and put my pencil tool in here, and we listen. Okay, and I'm going to double click in here, and when I'm double clicking, it's actually putting it on the other track. Oh, I get you, AJ. I get you. Oops. Cool. There we go. And I can adjust the levels. And when you adjust the levels, it starts to make it feel a little bit more human. You hear how that feels a little bit more human already. It's still like completely on the grid. It's still robotic grid mode, but there we go. Cool. Okay. And I can build these things up like this, and I can so I can see everything that's going on. And if I wanted to, I could change my track color and stuff for the tracks and the clips and everything that's in here. So I can go over here to my window, I can select color palette here, and I can change the track to slightly, this, and I can change my clips in my track. And that should change my colors in here, I think. Let's see. There we go. Let's see what that does. Did that change everything for me? Yep. And that just changed my colors of my notes. So if you want to change the colors of your notes, that changes stuff around there. So you can definitely roller skate to this. Yeah, totally. All right. Let's put our bass back. Cool. Actually, I like that a bit better than what we had before. So duplicate that out. So we got that. And let's go in here and I'm going to put in here my lead because I want to show you some stuff with the lead sound in here. I'm going to go ahead and just program in the lead, kind of like how I was programming my drums. So Option Shift 3 to create that MIDI track, and go here to this one here, and let's go ahead and grab that kit down there so I can just see what I'm doing, so I can put the lead sound against it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that my lead sound is a 32nd note instead of a 16th note, and you're going to see when I put it in, check that out. It's not as long as my grid is because my grid is set for the 16th note, but I want the note to be really short, so I changed up here. I changed my length, the duration, to be a 32nd note. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that level up there, and let's change this here to 120 so it's nice and loud. It's a little baby MIDI note. It's exactly what it is. So, and I can go in here. I'm going to make these longer, and I can just click and drag on it to make it longer on the end. Cool. I'm just going to grab all these and drag them on over like this. And so we got our... Cool. I'm going to make these a little bit longer here. And what I just did is if you highlight stuff, you can select multiple things and adjust the level, the length. But see how it's snapping to my grid here? Well, remember, and you probably don't remember because I mentioned this like once 2 weeks ago, but I'm in grid mode now, and I want to stay in grid mode. I could put it into slip mode by hitting F2 and put it into slip mode, but I want to stay in grid mode. But I just want to adjust my grid. I just want to adjust these length of these notes in slip mode for just a half a second. So what I do is I hold down my command key, and now it's in slip mode. And I did mention this a little bit ago, but it was like I said, it was 2 weeks, and I kind of mentioned it in passing. So this is really cool because now it means I can actually adjust these lengths to make things a little bit more human sounding without cool. All right, so that sounds pretty cool. Let's go ahead and go back to that MIDI instrument because I think I turned off. Yeah, let's turn the glide back on. Cool. Dial in a little bit of something there. Whoa, no, not that. All right, cool. So we got that there. Now, let's say, you know what, I like that, but I'm not sure it's in the right octave. Right now it's really high up. Maybe I want to put it down an octave. Well, this is where all those event operation things come into play. All that stuff we were talking about before, this is where this starts to come into play. So event operations window. Menu, event operations window. This is all the musical stuff that you can do with MIDI in Pro Tools, and that's right up here under event operations window. And all of these things, all this stuff here is inside of the event operations window. So you can just open up this one window here. And pull this up, and there you go. Now, I just want to point out something real quick. See how this says event operations, and it says operations window, and see how that says option 3. Well, if you hit option 3 on your computer, on your MacBook Pro or whatever, it's not going to do anything. And the reason why is because, see, that's like a little, it's got a little box around it. Well, what that box means is that it's a 3 on the numeric keypad. So that's what you're dealing with there. Event operations window is not going to pop up if you hit the normal 3 that's above your W or E. You have to hit option and hit the 3 on your numeric keypad and it will open up. But it means you have to have a numeric keypad. If you do not have a numeric keypad, sorry, no event operations shortcut for you. All right, so in here, in my event operations window, it has all of these different things that I can adjust. And really, these are all very, very self-explanatory for the most part. Not all of them, but most of them are very self-explanatory. Quantize is what we already talked about. It adjusts the timing of things, so it locks things into the right timing. Velocity is how hard or soft you're hitting the note. For drums, it's going to change into loudness. Duration is how long the note is being held for. So if you want it to be shorter or longer, you can change the duration. Transpose is exactly what transpose means in the classical music world. If you know what that means, transpose means to move your notes up or down by a certain amount of steps or half steps. Select and split notes. This is going to take your notes and split them out, and you can assign different parameters for that. Input quantize, we talked about that the other day. Turn that on when you're playing if you want to lock your stuff into the grid. Step input is what we talked about today. It allows me to play notes one at a time. And then we have restore performance or flatten performance. Really, the order is kind of weird, restore or flatten. Well, I guess not actually. What this basically means is that if I quantize something, I play it in, I quantize it, later on I'm like, you know what, actually I want it to be how I played it originally. I don't want the quantize. I can hit restore performance and it'll put it back to my original way that I played it. Essentially, it means that anything you do in here is not set in stone. You can always undo it, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's use transpose. Let's say that I want to move my notes down an octave. So it's up here. Yeah, here it is. So what I can say is I just want to transpose it down 1 octave. So I just, right here, click and drag -1. Boop. There we go. And now, if I hit apply, let's open this up. Everything is highlighted. Command A to select all, or I can just click and drag across everything. And now I hit apply and watch what happens. Everything just moved down by an octave. Now, why is this useful? I just hit Command Z to undo that. Well, this might be useful if you wanted to get some kind of orchestration going on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate this track, hit OK, and this one here is going to be M lead high, and the other one's going to be M lead low, and on this one down here I'm going to put it down an octave. And now, there's the low version. There's the high version. There it is up high. Maybe the higher one, I want it to be louder. And I can adjust the tone of the sound. And I'm hearing, I've got both of them here. I got this one. And I got them to be their different octaves by just using this quick control functionality. And this is something that Logic has, and both Logic and Pro Tools have it. Ableton Live does it as well, but the way Ableton Live does it is a little bit different. I actually really like the functionality that Pro Tools and Logic have, being able to just grab and adjust things like this. I'm not a huge fan of the way Ableton Live does it. You get used to it. It's not my favorite. It does open up some really interesting other avenues of production, but I actually really enjoy having it like this. And I'm going to show you how to do it in Ableton Live as well, but having this little window that pops up in Pro Tools and Logic is really cool. My favorite one between the three is actually Pro Tools, because Pro Tools does it in a musical way. Logic feels like you're doing too much computer programming, and Ableton Live is a little bit too live. I don't know, it's hard to say. So I've got that there. If I wanted everything to be a little bit longer on this one, I could go over here and I could change my duration. And I can set all to, well, let's not set all to. Let's change, let's see here. Set all to. Let's add a little bit to each one. Can we do it by percentages? Scale by. Yep, if we use scale by, I can, let's just say I want everything to be 110% longer. So I hit that apply. And here, let's open this up actually. Let me see, scale by, let's scale by 150%, hit apply. What's happening here? What am I not applying this to this? Do it again. I don't, oh, maybe the limit range, I don't know. Let's hit apply. Why? It doesn't seem like it's actually doing anything. That's very strange, hold on a second. Why are you not doing anything? Stop that. Change duration. Scale by. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Well, that's weird. Maybe it's not a percentage. Although I thought that's how it worked. So what I'll do is I'll just add a little bit onto each one. So let's add 100 onto each one. So you see there they go. It gets a little bit louder. Or I can subtract by that much as well. There you go, and I can do it again. Cool. So you can do that. Now, this is pretty cool. Another thing that's really cool about this is if I have a hi-hat line, actually here, let's just go in here, and the hi-hat. Okay, so let's say I've got this line here. I'm going to use a pencil tool to draw this in. Not like that. Use the pencil tool line to draw this in. There we go. Cool. So let's say that I want to have this grow up over time. Well, I can use my velocity here under event operations. So what I did was I just made a new sound, and they're all at 100, and they're all really loud. Here, let me just hold down Command and click and drag it up and down so I can change my velocities on each one. They're all 16th notes, and the way I did this, here, let me just do this again for you, is I have my pencil tool here. So I got my pencil tool here, and I set it to be a line here. And what that does is it's going to make a bunch of notes at my grid, with each note being my duration here. So let me change the duration here. That's funny. All right, so here we go, like that, boom. And I can hold down my Command key to make it louder over time. Okay, so I have that there. Now, let's say I want to make this get louder over time from like quiet to loud. So I just make sure everything is highlighted. And I'm going to go change smoothly here. Let's change smoothly from 1 to 127. Hit apply. Boom. And you can see down at the bottom of my screen, this here. That's really funny. It reminds me of the SpongeBob and the dancing jellyfish. I do not know what that is. I'm a bit, SpongeBob's unfortunately a bit after my time. I was like a little bit too old to appreciate SpongeBob by about 4 or 5 years. But you see how that's getting louder over time. And you can also see, I just want to bring your attention here, the shading of the note changes as we get louder. They're darker for louder notes and lighter for quieter notes, or for less velocity and like more velocity. We could also change the curve here. So I can apply the, hello. Oh, I guess it's only for this one here by percentage here. So let's go from, here I'm going to set them all to 127. And now I'm going to change smoothly by percentage to 100% from, let's go to from 50%. And I hit OK, apply. And I can adjust the curve here. So I'll actually adjust that curve here. Let's go from 1%. And you can see the curve gets adjusted there. Why are we? Oh, hold on a second. Let's put this back to this. Boom, and then change this curve so we can see what the curve's actually doing. There you go. It actually doesn't seem like it's doing a whole lot. It doesn't. It seems like it's like weird. I feel like it used to do more. I feel like there's a glitch in here with this curve, but maybe I don't know, maybe not. But the cool thing is you can have a curve here. Yeah, I thought this curve used to affect when you did the change smoothly thing too. It doesn't seem to be affecting it, which is really weird. It feels kind of broken to me. Can you do automation MIDI? Yes. Well, you can. The answer is yes. And here, let me show you how to do automation stuff. So here, let me put this back over here to this. Let's get our bass line in here. Let's say I want to automate this cutoff. With Contact, it's a little bit awkward to do automation stuff in Pro Tools, but here we have to hit this automation here. Okay, so here, Bass Monster. Okay, cool. So we hit this is the cutoff here. And what I can do is, if I go into my plugin here, remember how to set this up. Here's our cutoff. There we go. Boom. Double click that. So now, actually, they have it set up pretty well in here. I thought it was going to be a little bit weirder. And down here on the left-hand side, go down to the bottom, and it's right under here under cutoff, Contact here. So now I can go in here and I could say, all right, I want this to be, go up. Oops. Like this, and we'll pull this down here like this, and go up like that, and so you see how I'm plugging these like lines in here by holding down Command and clicking each one. This, like that. Okay, so let's listen to that real quick. it's too quiet. Hold on, let me just turn everything up a little bit. The filters. Oh wait, sorry, I went the wrong way with it. Let's go down. There we go. So you can see you can do audio, automation with it as well. I actually would do my automation on this vintage filter here, but that's not part of the MIDI track. So I wanted to answer your question. I'm doing it on that one right there. All right, let's just, so basically all the stuff I just talked about with change, duration, transpose is all in here in the notes. And the last thing I just want to show you, well, there's two more things I want to show you here before we cut to break. One thing is real-time properties. Basically, real-time properties is all the same stuff. Hold on, let me just get rid of all this automation. Turn it off over here. Get rid of you. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Cool. Okay. So essentially, real-time properties allows me to do the stuff I was just showing you, but in real time. So what we do is go to Event, MIDI Real-Time Properties. Click on that and it pulls up this window here. Now you can also do this on the track itself. If we look over here at what we're actually looking at on the track, only in the edit window, click on your edit window views and you can click on real-time properties. But be careful because now I'm eating up a lot of my screen real estate. So you may or may not want to have it on the track itself. It depends. And if you're used to Logic, if you've already used Logic a lot, the upper left-hand corner of your info view for each track has the info view there. This is basically the same thing for your quantize and stuff like that. So if I go in here and I say, I want these to be up higher or down, let's say go down. I can go to TRN, which stands for transpose, click on that and just drag it down by 1 octave or just type in -1. And it's in there. Okay, that must be the top. Oh wait, sorry. No, I was doing the wrong one. Let's use this one for semitones. And I can change this in real time. And I'm just typing in different numbers here. And you'll notice that every time I adjust the transpose, it puts a little thing in here for my property there to show me that I've done something to that. Okay. If you want to do something, this is doing it for the whole track. You'll notice it's doing it for the whole track. If I want to do it just for one clip, I can just click on the clip and I can actually select under Event Real-Time Properties. And this one here, I can apply it to the clip or I can apply it to the track. So I can go either way there. And it shows you right here what you've done. And you can see here we've got quantize, duration, delay, velocity, transpose. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this. I mean, we're done already, just because most people aren't going to use this right now. If I want to get rid of all my properties here, we can get rid of them. If I do something and I want to make sure it's in the clip, like embedded in the clip, I can hit right to clip and it will embed it into the clip. Again, if you're used to, Logic, you'll probably understand better what this does for you. That's your real-time properties. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about here is split notes. So in the notes here, in the Canvas notes, it says split notes is great for separating drums out to a different track per drum sound. So we can set the pitch criteria to all notes, we can set actions to split notes, and then use a cut to a new track per pitch. What this does, this is super, super cool. I've got my kick and my snare here. Let's listen to that. What did you miss? I have no idea when you left, Eduardo. So I cannot answer that question effectively. Sorry. But it's all been recorded, so there we go. All right. So this is super cool. So I've got these. I've got my kick and my hi-hat on here, and Yeah, I don't know when you left, so it's hard to tell you what you missed. But let's talk about it in Zoom. Actually, I mean, really, I just recommend that you rewatch the video. Is probably the best answer for that. But I don't know. All right, so let's see here. What I want to do is I want to take these drum sounds and I want to put them on a different track. So I have each of my drum sounds separated out to a different track, so I can like put different effects on them, and I can like send them to reverbs and stuff like that. So I've got these two, I've got here, I've got this. Let's go ahead and put a snare drum in here as well. Yeah, we'll just put a snare drum right there. Boom, 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 like that. Cool. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah. Okay, so we got that there. Okay, so I got these. Now what I want to do is I want to cut these out in a new track per pitch so I can separate everything else. So I want to have my kick drum on one track, my snare drum on another track, my hi-hat on another track. So what I do is I just click on the clip, or sorry, not the clip, I click on the track, and I go up to Event, Operations. Depends on what you're doing. Ableton or Pro Tools, what's best? It really depends on what you're doing. I use Ableton Live for production. I would use Pro Tools if I was mixing and doing recording and stuff like that. All right, so I go here and I go to Select Split Notes, which is Option Y. Click on that. And now, for example, what I'm doing right now, you can't do this in Ableton Live. You can kind of do it, but it's not nearly as fast. So I go in here and I say Select Split Notes. So here's what we want to do. We want to do all notes. And the action is we want to split the notes. So we want to cut to a new track per pitch. So what this is going to do is going to take every drum sound that's on its own pitch, on its own key on the keyboard, and we're going to split it out to new tracks. So I hit Apply, and it just did it for all those drums. And it only did it to the clips that I had selected there. So you've still got them on here if I wanted to. If I really, hold on, let's see. Let's get rid of these real quick. Delete. And I'm just going to deselect all my clips. And there we go. A new, actually, I'm going to get rid of these because we don't really need those. A new track per pitch, all notes, cut, yep, cool, apply, boom. So now what it did was it just made a bunch of new tracks, and it has each track on here. This is not quantizing, this is something completely different. And now what you'll see is, the one thing you'll notice is that it didn't put my drum kit on it. So I'm going to hold down Option and drag over my contact here. And each one, because I was Option dragging, so each one has the same drum kit in it. So if we listen, there we go. There's my kick drum. The first one before was my snare drum, and this one was my closed hi-hat. And now I have a lot more control over these. So if I wanted to, like, let's say I wanted to add a reverb or something into this whole situation, I can just make a new aux here. Let's call this one drum reverb. Boom, and I put my reverb in here like this. And let's just get a little room sound going because they're drums, drummy drum drums. And these three here, I'm going to send them over to my drum reverb from a send right here. Like that. And let's put it up here. My kick drum, actually, I don't want the kick drum. What am I doing? I don't want the kick drum to go, but I do want my snare drum. So the snare drum. And the hi-hat as well. There we go. Cool. We got a nice little reverb going on, and the only way we can do that is because I've just separated everything out here. What does the gain controller do in the reverb plugin? Oh, that's a great question, actually. The gain, what this is just your input gain. So if it's down, I don't know why it does this, and this has been doing this since 1999. Like since I first started using Pro Tools in 1999, when I first started using Dverb, it was always like this. It always defaulted to -4 dB. So -4 is a lot to cut your dB. So I put it up to 0, because unless you've got like a crazy hot signal coming in, really you want as much gain coming into it as you can get without it clipping. So the only reason why you'd want to turn this down is if you're clipping the input, but really if you're clipping the input, you should probably just turn down your sins. That's how I look at it. So I always put it up to 0. I wish it just defaulted to 0, but yeah, I put it up to 0. And honestly, probably what I should do here, let me just do it right now. I'm gonna make a preset here. Let's go ahead and save the settings as, and we're going to call this one a small room. We're going to call this one Tony Small Room because it's Tony. Boop, there we go, Tony Small Room. And I'm going to go ahead and set this as my user default. And the plugin default, yeah, my user settings. So now every time I pull up my reverb, it'll have this setting here, which is what I would recommend. Because I don't know why I didn't think about that sooner. I do know why, because I don't really use Pro Tools that much anymore. But like, I've always, as soon as I pull it up, I always just set it to 0 all the time, and I don't know why I never set that as a default setting. Cool. Now, if I had all these sounds on here, where's my drums? Drums. They disappear? Oh, well, if I had them, yeah. If I had everything in here, like it was, then I wouldn't be able to separate out my drums and send them to the reverb like that. We can also we can merge paste it. So I'm going to copy these over, and I can merge this in, what is it, option 0? Yep, there we go, shortcut option 0. So there we go. All right, and then this is great because it's great for mixing stuff. So that's what's up. Cool. I say we're done for the day, and then let's move over to Zoom because I do want to help out Eduardo. But Eduardo, I think it's going to be tricky to help you because it's just it's just hard to know what you're actually missing where you dropped out.